Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. We just got done checking out some alternative rock music. We're going to be moving into a special selection today, and this is going to be a bit of a lengthy song. Our suggester is Jonathan, says Talk Talk, The Rainbow Eden Desire. This is one song split up into a 3-track suite. The song album is the origins of post-rock. It was completely original in the context of the late 80s and still sounds radical today. I pushed hard for Talk Talk on Old New Week because of how much they've evolved. If you could perhaps listen to just the first 90 seconds of It's My Life just to appreciate how much they've changed in the span of a few years. I actually just did that, and I thought that was a No Doubt song. I did not know that that was a cover. So that's interesting. But yes, I don't know what we're in for, being the beginnings of post rock here. But yeah, that was more or less just a typical 80s pop rock kind of thing going on. If you want, you can check that out real quick before we dive into this. Go ahead and pause this and check that out. So that might be interesting. Also, the YouTube playlist for this is a bit off. All right, so I'm gonna have to play around with some time as we switch from track 1 to 2. All right, let's get into this though. I am fairly excited. I'm also very intrigued what we're in store for. Like I said, I checked out It's My Life, and it's kind of what I expect the 80s to sound like. uh, and I don't know what proto post rock is going to be. So let's dive into this and see what's up. Now I know this is the 97 remaster. I don't know when the original was, but I probably am going to talk about some of the production because just even so far, instrument placement has been really cool. And I'm not sure how much of my production criticism or feedback or analysis is going to tie back to the original or how much is just about this 97 remaster, but I figured I'd make that clear. Yeah, so right off the bat, we're playing around with some feedback, which is really interesting. not just, I mean, we're also playing with feedback against this backdrop of like chill nightclub. There is some wild distortion on these tones though. And for those that went and listened to It's My Life, drastic shift so far in the vocal delivery. The drum placement's really interesting with the bass kick being centered and that muted snare, tom maybe, panned right, way right, like far away from the kit. So quiet with that syllable that all I really heard was the tss, tss. I didn't even catch what syllable it was, just yeah, lots of environmental building in this track. I mean, which is to be expected, proto-post-rock. Slow burns are exactly what I was expecting. But they're really taking their time with this. This is really interesting. I don't know what that higher pitched instrument was on the left. Ooh. Super bluesy. Golly. Where did that come from? It is interesting though how often they kind of weave in and out of this jazzy element into more of a traditional, almost like classic rock feel. masterful control over dynamics as well. Volume being a very present one here at the beginning. What is that sound? Okay, so I'm hearing brass. Is that a flute doing that? Should I expand the instruments I'm looking for? Well, see, now I kind of think it's harmonics being played on a guitar. It's also interesting how often they're playing around with the emotive aspects of their environments. A little bit more projection in the vocals. Vocals are getting drowned out here. Yeah, repetitive. Seeing back here, we're back to more of a bright kind of feeling. Back to chill. They're exploring a lot of emotions with their atmospheres. That is a dry snare. And once again, dynamics and layering right here. Very sparse drum track, small bass line, very sparse piano. have those dotted corners against the quarter notes and the bass kicks. Yeah, I like how those two notes came together there. The spatial placement of those cymbals is very nice. It's like being surrounded by the drum kit. And once again, we have a new emotion. It's rather somber. Yeah, and we're returning a bit to the jazzier roots with that rhythm. Yeah, getting real playful with the rhythm here. Ooh. how influential was this album? I do really love that keyboard tone though. I don't know what it reminds me of, but I like it. Got some cowbell. I thought this was a drum fill, maybe even a drum solo, but it's not. It's just a new, more technical drum pattern. What an odd transition into this outro. I mean, the song is done. Yeah, 2 piano chords. Hmm. To say I'm at a loss might be understating things. So this was a song, a series of songs, a suite of songs. Yep. So I'm going to preface this that I understand the song's placement in rock history. I understand its importance for the creation of post rock. I understand it was a huge shift for Talk Talk. It has import to history. It completely bounced off of me. This coming from fresh ears. Let me look real quick. So it looks like this might have been 88. Dang, was it really 88? What's it called? Spirit of Eden. That would be pretty cool. That was my birth year. Yep, 1988. A few months after me. Um, so yeah, putting that in context, especially given the fact that what was their other song? It's My Life. So that was 4 years prior when they were doing that 80s pop sounds. And then it looks like 86 they released something that's in that same new wave pop kind of idea. And then Spirit of Eden they made post rock. Uh wow, that is a huge shift because even I don't know what Color of Spring sounds like. It might have some transitionary ideas into this. But even between Color of Spring and Spirit of Eden, that's 2 years to drastically change what genre people would categorize them in the future. Um, so yeah, that's kind of wild. Like I said, there's definitely a lot of importance here, but it just fresh years, 88. So I'm 30 something. Um, I am 3 decades removed from this song's release. I cannot listen to it with the ears of somebody who this would have been mind blowing to, because I'm coming at it from the other end of the spectrum. I've heard modern post rock, modern post metal. I've heard what this has inspired, what, the genre that has been refined from these ideas. This just, I think my big issue here is not necessarily with the ideas that it's founded, but what it did with those ideas. And it does do a lot of really good stuff. I want to emphasize that there's some really cool ideas going on in here, even with me being removed from the importance of its release. Uh, you know, Even with my ears today, 2021, um, with modern ears, there's still some really cool ideas going on in here. I don't want to dismiss the entire song completely, but the core vibe of this suite of tracks to me is we're going to do a lot of nothing and occasionally punctuate that with expressive ideas. And the a lot of nothing just really does not work for me. I've mentioned in the past, I'm not a huge fan of slow builds. I just don't have the patience for for slow builds like this where there isn't much going on. I have more patience for slow builds where we're constantly adding layers. And it might take us a couple of minutes to see the full picture, but at least there's new things happening. Um, and that this one is really just about sitting inside of a pocket for an extended period of time. And that aspect personally does not work for me. But usually, even when we have these slow burns that I'm just not working, they bounce right off of me. I can usually appreciate the payoff. I can say that the contrast that was created due to these extended slow burn periods was worthwhile. That the explosive ramping it up to 10, um, and the drastic leap from spending several minutes in running out of one, basically nothing going on. It works in the larger picture. It was worthwhile, I suppose you could say, and taking that terminology, I just don't feel like the payoffs made the slow burns worthwhile. I don't think the payoffs were there. Um, and again, I want to reiterate, these are just my reactions, my thoughts coming off of this song. I'm not saying any of this is bad. It just didn't work for me. Um, and I think it comes down to what the payoffs are and how long the slow burns sit. Um, it maybe if this was not a 30 minute 20, I don't even know, over 20 minutes, not quite 30, somewhere between 20 and 30, 20 24ish. um if it was a 10-minute song that condensed these ideas down and retained the slow burn element, retained the contrasting concepts, the quiet versus the loud, the beautiful versus the chaotic, maybe that would have worked better for me. But this song seriously tried my patience. And maybe that's the purpose of it. The song, we have the rainbow, we have Eden, we have desire. These are all concepts that immediately force me into a mind of Christianity and early ideas of Genesis in the Bible. The rainbow was created in I'm pretty sure it was created in Genesis. Eden, of course, was Genesis, and desire deals with the desire for knowledge, the Satan and the apple. So there could be these ideas of longing, wanting the next section to come on, having the patience to be in these moments for so long. Loneliness, isolation is something that pops up a lot in these sections for me. There is a very good chance that these are intentional ideas that they wanted me to feel that they put in there, and that is fantastic. I don't want to feel these things. Not in this context. Anyways, there's definitely songs that make me feel isolated, and I enjoy them for it. But this just does not. It doesn't. Wow, there's only 3 more songs in this album. Interesting. The songs get shorter as they go. Oh well, almost. It almost worked perfectly in that idea. Six tracks for the album though. That's kind of bonkers. Anyways, so I don't want to talk about the stuff that didn't work anymore. I think I've made my point clear on that. At least I hope so. I want to talk about some of the stuff that they did phenomenally, um, and especially the risk that they took making this. Assuming that this is the origin point. I don't know how proto post rock this is. Let me pull up Jonathan's comment real quick. This is the origins of assuming I take that at its face value and that this is the song that kickstarted this concept of post rock. Yeah, there is a lot of risks being taken here. First of all, we have these moments of extended nothingness. Especially desire, I think, was the most egregious about this. I don't want to use that word. Desire utilized this concept the most. We're going to go a bit more neutral on it. Uh, a lot of desire. 7-minute track, I'd say maybe 4 minutes worth of it is extremely sparse. We have a simple bass kick and snare idea. The snare is muted, it's dry, um, it's barely present at all. We have a very small bass line idea. Usually, I think it was just those 2 notes, the dum dum. I think it was something like that, and that's it. Just like bouncing back and forth between those 2 sets of eighth notes, and then a piano laying down some chords. That might not have been Desire, actually. Now I'm thinking about it. Maybe it might have been. I don't remember. And that's kind of. Oh no 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 no! This Desire had the was when we started getting funky, and the bass was playing offbeat stuff. Like everything they were playing was offbeat. Yeah, that's right. And then the piano chords are over that. So yeah, that was the majority of Desire. Like 60% of the song was just that. We had the explosive bits, they were the contrasting elements, uh, but they were not as widely part of the song. And yeah, I can't imagine the risk in creating. I don't even know what the last 19 minutes of this album are, but the opening 20 minutes is a lot of this aspect of just sort of being in a sparse soundscape with not much going on. We saw a little bit of embellishing ideas in Rainbow and Eden, the Rainbow and Eden, where we would have these sparse soundscapes and then we would have a guitar or a trumpet or something just, playing a couple notes every once in a while. But that's really it. The concept of melody was not overly utilized in these sparse sections. And it leads to a song that I'm curious how many people at the time specifically, uh, ooh, ooh, I might need to look up some music reviews of this album in 88. I'm kind of curious what critics thought of it at the time. Did they see it as the developing sound, the future of rock that it was going to become, influencing an entire new genre, or were they a bit more dismissive of it? I'm curious. I actually would like popular opinion as well, but I think that might be a bit more difficult to come by than critical opinion. Um, but yeah, I mean, at least in my limited knowledge of late 80s rock music, especially maybe even pop music, given that that was what they had just got done creating, at least two albums worth of pop, the immense risk it must have taken to say, we're going to slow this down a lot. And we're really going to ask you to be patient with us to develop, this sound. We want you to stick with us for 9 minutes, and I promise the payoff is going to be worth it. And I wonder how many people felt that the payoff was worth it, or how many people might have wished that the payoff was the song. Some of these moments, I think, would not have made bad core ideas to tracks. Um, but instead of having other music similar to it to wrap around it or to extend it, it's placed inside of these moments placed inside of these long pockets of existing. Um, so yeah, I like just the raw risk of developing this when I'm going to assume there isn't really much other stuff out there that's kind of like this. Um, yeah, I mean, I can't imagine the stress they might have had going into this. I also don't know how popular they were. It's My Life was big enough for some modern people to cover it. I mean, No Doubt's cover is fairly large. I'd say most people would know this song even if they've never heard the Talk Talk version. But how big of a band were they at the time? I mean, would this be like Green Day at their height in like 2007 releasing a sludge album or trying their hand at some avant-garde trying to make a new genre? I mean, what kind of level of popularity were we talking about? What was the risk that they were going in on this? So I'm trying to put myself in their position here. And yeah, yeah, I think that's it. Right, we're gonna keep moving here. Um, so musically, though, here's I mentioned somewhere in the reaction. I said how many bands that these guys influenced. Did this album influence? Obviously, post rock is a big one here, but they have extensive use of dissonance in their louder sections. Extended use of dissonance, even in moments where maybe the bass and a guitar are lining up, or maybe the bass and a piano. There is usually some instrument, I think most of the time it was an electric guitar, really creating dissonant tones and working within that crunchiness of the dissonance and allowing the compression and amplification to amplify that dissonant tone to really create these crispy, crunchy textures to the song. And it reminded me so, especially there was one moment, I think it was in Eden, when we had two guitars panned completely different sides doing their own thing, sometimes clashing with each other real messily. Like they were not worried about, or it was completely intentional, any sort of overlap on notes. Especially when we had the piano and the bass also going in and also doing their own thing. And there were a lot of times that we would get these momentary dyads and triads of just really clashing sounds. And it reminded me so much of uh, what's that band? Mars Volta with I think it was Sigmund, Vismas Sigmund or something like that. Um, where I commented something along the lines that I love their more melodic elements, but that they always cover up their beautiful sections with raw dissonance that are panned on either side. And that's exactly what I'm hearing here. There are some genuinely beautiful moments in some of these larger sections, but there's always some dissonance to cover it up and to dirty it up. And um, I'm honestly curious how many bands might have listened to Talk Talk, this specific album, and took some of these ideas. Um, but yeah, so even some of the louder sections that I think would work well contrasting against the more sparser sections, it just never has the right payoff for me because we remove these chill sections or we contrast these chill sections that I don't have a problem with musically. They're just there for too long. We're contrasting it with louder sections, wider sections, more heavily layered sections, which is 100% what I would expect, but with so much dissonance thrown in that to me, it ruins the section. Now, I'm not saying that it's bad by any means. I want to clarify this again because I feel like this is one of my most negative analyses, reviews, whatever you want to call it, in a long time. I want to clarify that none of this is bad choices. I'm not saying it's a bad song. It doesn't work for me personally. Um, so yeah, they just have all this dissonance thrown in, which I think is interesting because so many. Well, there's only two. The transitional elements between these songs tend to favor harmony. Moving from Eden into Desire, we had this tone. It was just a high pitched tone. And then it developed into this really nice soundscape. Sparse, quiet, had to fit in with this minimalistic idea so that we can contrast it later. But some really beautiful chordal work. And we had seen that quite a few times up to this point. I just can't remember any specific moment for it. But some of these sparse soundscapes do incorporate beautiful melody and harmony into them. Well, not necessarily melody, more like harmony, just creating these really warm soundscapes. And I had mentioned this already somewhere along the lines where I mentioned that they were going through a lot of emotional ideas. We had seen some, what was that word I used? Dreary? That doesn't sound right. Anyways, a little bit more downtrodden, but we also had some elements of victory, some joy, some happiness. Um, those were mostly in the sparse sections. Um, so it's not like they didn't want to utilize more melodic elements in these tracks. They just chose not to during the highest moments of the song. They wanted those moments to be loud and aggressive and dissonant. And I'm just not sure why. And I think that's the big thing walking away from this is that I'm not sure what the reasoning was behind several of these choices that I didn't understand or that I didn't enjoy. And that's where comments are going to come in. Anybody who has interviews with Talk Talk, links to interviews, anyways, or information from interviews, or maybe your own personal insight, what you like about this series of songs or whatever. I'm all ears for this. I'm always open for new perspectives, especially, so often in the past I'll say I didn't enjoy this uh, casually, but I really love how it works thematically. I love the artistic, side of it, what they're doing artistically. And this is one of those cases where I didn't enjoy it and I don't see the artistic value of it. Oh, no, that's a bit harsh. I don't see the thematic tying together of it. I think that's a better way to put it. There's certainly value in it, especially as history will dictate. And I don't want to ever say that a song has no value or especially artistic value, because that's just blatantly wrong. But I don't understand why, and I think that's my big thing coming away from this. Um, is that I don't like it, and I don't know why they chose the things they did that I don't like. There is one more thing I want to touch on though, and oh, it was the ending. What was so the song? We have a 24-minute song with fluid transitions all the way through. We have this natural progression from where we started to that final explosive moment. It can all be traced back. There was smooth transitions everywhere. And then we get this harsh transition from one of the highest points of the song, might even be the highest point of the song, to a piano chord. And then silence, and then a piano chord, and then the song's over. And again, I don't understand why. Even in this idea of biblical elements of the book of Genesis and possibly desire being the desire for knowledge and consuming of the apple of knowledge, or I don't know if that's actually its official name. The apple of Eden, though. Um, it's just maybe if I read the lyrics, but there's so few lyrics in this song. I mean, for a 24-minute track, there's not that many places where oh man, I do need to talk about that. Okay, so this this reaction might be far from over. There's not a lot of lyrics though. So I'm wondering how much of the story could actually be in the lyrics when there's so few lyrics in the song already. I am kind of hoping that ties things together though if I go look that up. The vocals though, I do want to bring this up real quick. I enjoyed the vocals. They're very vulnerable, especially in the first section, the rainbow, where there's several syllables that are barely audible, and it's really only the harsher sounds of the syllables that I'm actually getting through. Especially at one point, I don't even remember what syllable it was. All I heard was like a T sound, a very soft T sound. That was it. The actual part of the syllable that's more softer was just it was just air. I mean, it's just it is a very interesting vocal delivery style, and it's one of the things in here that I think worked best. Not necessarily because uh, I enjoyed it, but because it worked within the context of everything else that was going around it. Um, and I do like how it's contrasted, at least in Eden. I don't remember if there were vocals in Desire or not, but definitely contrasted with Eden's vocals, where they are more fuller. There's a lot more presence and power behind them. So yeah, there's actually a couple different vocal styles in here. I wonder if those can be attributed to anything thematically. Yeah, uh, I think there's a lot of stuff I'm missing here. Obviously, one is going to be the context of the time. I've tried my hardest to put myself in that moment, but it's just so difficult when I've heard what other bands have done with this style and what I believe is to be have done it better, which is not a slight against Talk Talk. This is something that I've spoken about before with innovative bands versus iterative bands, where some bands will innovate, they will create a new sound, and others will iterate. They will refine a sound. And we need both of them. We need bands who can create new sounds. We need bands who can create new genres. Talk Talk did that here. But then we also need bands to take those new sounds and refine them and perfect them, and get them, find the first time you do something, it's going to be flawed, right? That's just how things work. Um, and these iterative bands, sometimes it's the same band that created the sound. They're going to develop the sound on their own, but it's also everybody who's going to be inspired by them is going to develop it as well as take it in new directions. Um, Post metal is kind of like post rock, but it's also very different from post rock. And that's just because they took the post rock sound and added some metal elements to it. And of course, other people are going to take that sound and develop it even further. We certainly need both types of music creators to further enhance music. But that's definitely where I sit with this specific suite of songs, is that I understand its importance as an innovative music. But unfortunately, with my ears not being from the time, I wasn't there when it came out, I can only hear it in relationship to what it inspired, and I think other bands have done this better. On the flip side, though, and I think this is going to be my final comment, I have not heard any other band do this in particular. Uh, Creating a 24-minute song and having a vast majority of it be chill silence with some small amounts of ambience to it and a few embellishing ideas. I don't think I've heard any post rock as sparse as this, and for what that's worth, they're unique in that vein, at least in my limited experience with the genre. So, as I mentioned, hit me up with some comments. Let me know anything that might have stuck out to you that I might have missed. If you're a fan of them, hit me up with some context, whether it's an interview or even just your own personal perspective with it. I am always open to new perspectives. I am one person. I can only have my own perspective, and as a human, it is a flawed perspective. So yeah, if you just want to even tell me what the song means to you, it doesn't necessarily need to be the author's intent. Let me know what the song means to you, and that might help me appreciate it a bit more as well. On a purely musical level, like I said, I appreciate its historical context. I do. I'm not quite sure that I have a strong appreciation for the music itself, though. Which it just sounds so harsh. That's not. Again, I don't want to say that the music has no value. Um, that I don't appreciate it at all. It's just, it bounced off of me really hard. This is not something at this point in time that I would ever want to listen to again. And maybe that might not change. Maybe I'll read everybody's comments and still be that same way. But I'd at least like to get a new perspective on it and possibly see what other people enjoy about it. When you're done commenting, you can head up to the description box, and there's a link for Linktree. You can follow me on Twitter, join the Discord community, support me through Patreon, buy some merch. Oh, that's the wrong way. I don't know how to get some merch like this shirt. You can check out special selection lists, submit your own special selection. If you have a song you want me to listen to, email me, all sorts of stuff in there. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I'll be back tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern. I'll be back tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10 p.m. UTC. We'll be looking at another alternative rock track, and we'll be looking at another special selection. Until next time, remember to be critical but not cynical of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening whenever you choose to watch my videos.